Welcome to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. Every Wednesday, Mark and Kim, along with their special guests, will explore thought-provoking topics and ideas that promote creativity, self-help, healing, happiness, and well-being to inspire you on your spiritual journey. Each week, Mark and Kim will discuss different paths to achieving a more spiritual, balanced, happy, and healthy lifestyle. Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience, and all things spiritual. Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. Mark and Kim are tested, certified, and professional spiritual mediums, metaphysical teachers, healers, and spiritual advisors with their own individual spiritual practices in Seattle, Washington, and Los Angeles, California. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
And a warm welcome today to our inspired listeners. Thank you for joining us on Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. I'm Kim Falcon, founder of Love First, where life transformations happen in Encino, California, reminding you to always come from a place of love. And joining me today and every Wednesdays is the absolute best co-host in the world, Mark Lanehart, the intuitive prospector. How are you today, Mark?
Good afternoon, Kim. Hello, inspired listeners. I'm doing great. So this is going to be an interesting show. I'm ready to learn all about the Micronutrient Miracle and what that has to offer. And I'm really excited about today's show.
Oh, I know. I'm excited too. I mean, the one thing that I absolutely love about Wednesdays is that we've covered so many different topics, and the guests that we've really been blessed to have the guests that we've had on our show just come from just such interesting backgrounds, the knowledge that they've shared with us, and of course, all topics relating to everything that contributes to our happiness and well-being. It doesn't get any better than that.
Totally agree, and I'm happy to finally be settled in. I'm officially in the same hometown as Bigfoot, Seahawks football, Amazon, Microsoft, Boeing, the Space Needle, the coffee capital of the world, Seattle, Washington. So I'm glad to be done moving. That's, how the energy and the chaos of, when you move your spiritual practice to a big city. So I'm just happy to have that all over with. And we're going to be seeing each other here in about a week in North Carolina. So looking forward to that as well.
I am so excited, Mark. I can't wait to meet you and see you in person. And the first thing I'm going to do is give you a big hug.
and for our inspired listeners out there, Kim and I have never actually met in person. We've always worked through the airwaves here on OMTimes Radio, and we're going to be at a conference in Asheville, North Carolina called the Best American Psychics Conference, and we're going to be coming together to network and learn and study and get to meet each other in person, maybe get out and do a hike. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, Asheville is a really spectacular place, Mark. I went for my first time last year, and it's the scenery, it's just, you're surrounded by beauty, but you're surrounded by beauty up where you're at too. This is just a new experience. So I can't wait.
Yeah, the Pacific Northwest, very beautiful. I've never been to Asheville, so I'm looking forward to visiting that area and the energy all around the mountain. I always hear how spiritually engaging it is too, with all the mountains and I guess there's a lot of crystals and minerals in that area, and so I'm really excited just to see what I experience when I get there.
Yes, you and me both, and I'm so happy to hear that you're settled into your new home. It always feels good to be settled.
It does. And there was a little bit of flux there, but I'm all settled and love doing this radio show. It's our 8th show, if you can believe that already. And for our inspired listeners, if you want to be a guest on Inspired Living, please contact Kim or myself, and we'll give information at the end of the show here. But we're officially booked out with guests until February of 2016. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's just wonderful. And we've got such an incredible slate of folks lined up for our listeners, always with you in mind, and what we can do to bring information that's going to help inspire us every week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking at the lineup, and we've got all sorts of topics, and I'm really excited for what's upcoming for the show in the next couple months. So let's dive into this Wednesday's show. And if you want to engage with Inspired Living right now, we'd ask that you just head on over to our social media pages, Facebook, which is Inspired Living Radio, or our Twitter page, which is Inspired for Us. That's the number 4, Inspired, the number 4 Us, or Instagram. And if you want to ask a question right now, we'll bring that question live to air to ask of myself or Kim or our special guest. We do that each and every Wednesday. So again, Facebook, Inspired Living Radio, or Twitter at Inspired, the number 4 Us. And I'm going to promise our listeners right now, this is going to be an hour of inspiration, education, useful knowledge. So put on a pot of tea, find your comfortable chair, kick up your feet, relax, and let's explore how we can lose weight, increase our energy, and reverse disease through the groundbreaking Micronutrient Miracle Plan.
There you go. As you said, Mark, the one thing that's just vital to our happiness and well-being is our health and how good we feel physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And today we have the perfect guests that are going to share their years of experience and knowledge with us today as to how to live the healthiest of lifestyles. So today we have celebrity nutritionist Dr. Jayson Calton and wife Mira Calton, who are among the world's leading experts in micronutrients and dietary supplement science. They are fellows of the American Association of Integrative Medicine and board-certified Integrative Health. The Caltons operate Calton Nutrition and the Calton Institute of Lifestyle Medicine in Florida, offering training to health professionals, assisting clients with their groundbreaking Micronutrient Miracle Plan, which we're going to be learning about today. They are the authors of Naked Calories and Rich Food, Poor Food, and a regular nutrition column in First for Women magazine. They've been featured in a ton of major media outlets, including the Wall Street Journal, CNN, Fox and Friends, PBS, and Prevention magazine. In fact, Mira herself developed advanced osteoporosis at the age of 30, but with Jayson's help, she completely reversed her disease through micronutrient therapy, and that's why we're so excited to bring this groundbreaking information to our audience today. They have traveled to more than 100 countries over a 6-year period to study the dietary and lifestyle habits of the world's healthiest people. And one of the things they have concluded from that is the importance of micronutrients. So we're very excited to be speaking with them today. Welcome, Jayson and Mira. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your time with us.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thanks so much for having us. We're very excited.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Mark.
Very good. And reading about your background, first of all, you have quite an interesting background in the way that the two of you were brought together. And I think one of the miracles of life are all the synchronicities that happen. And just from what I'd read, Mira, talk to us a little bit about, there was a life-changing event that happened for you that really changed the course of your life, that brought you into contact with Jayson, who's your husband today, and this beautiful practice that you have.
Sure. Well, I was not always the picture of health. In fact, I was living in New York in my late 20s, and I had my own PR firm, and it was a very hectic lifestyle, running my own company. And I just started feeling kind of rotten. My body ached a lot. I didn't have the energy I needed. I looked great from the outside. I was thin and, no one would have ever guessed that there was anything wrong with me. But it got so bad that I could not do my job anymore. I couldn't go see clients. I couldn't stand up for an extended period of time. My back and my thighs, like my hips and everything just started really having severe pain. So I finally went to see the doctor, and I was diagnosed with advanced osteoporosis. So that's on the bone density of an 80-year-old woman at the age of 30. And so basically I had to find help. I had to sell my company in New York City. I had to move and have my family start taking care of me in Florida. And I was lucky enough to find a doctor who was willing to work with me, a doctor of human nutrition who, although didn't really have a lot of background in this, thought that, together we would figure this out. And in 2 years, for a 2 years process, we put me on an intense micronutrient therapy program. And after 2 years, I got a DEXA scan to check my bone density, and we had reversed my osteoporosis. And we had also fallen in love, and we decided to get married and go on this mission to change people's health for good together.
That is such a beautiful story. I mean, how life can maybe appear so challenging by an experience that you go through, and then all of a sudden it just leads to such beautiful things from that. You talk a little bit about the Calton project. So I know that after you got married, you had both decided to travel the world. Talk to us a little bit about that. That must have been an incredible experience.
Well, it was, after we reversed Mira's osteoporosis, we both kind of looked at each other and said, there's probably something a lot deeper that, about nutrition and about what we did with her with the micronutrient therapy than we both realized. And we were both always very inspired by Weston A. Price, who traveled back in the 1930s to remote areas and did a lot of research on what those remote tribes were doing right. And we said, let's do it now in the 21st century where we have the ability. And we really wanted to get what we call a kind of a global perspective on nutrition. I obviously have a Ph.D. in nutrition, and I had been working in the field at that time for probably 15 years. But, nothing prepares you for what you're going to learn when you go and actually live with these remote tribes and really see what they're doing differently. And that is what we did. And we learned, as you kind of pointed out there, that micronutrient sufficiency is an essential element in optimal health. And we've been writing books on that and teaching people about that ever since we've returned.
Excellent. And so how long, this was it's not an easy thing to do, to go travel the world and go to the Amazon and remote villages and really learn and study and learn from these people. You traveled over a 6 or 7 year period. Is that correct?
Yeah, we did 7 years straight. And it was an exceptional experience. We really got to live with them firsthand and to see what other people were only reading about in books. And it's why we're so passionate about what we do today. It really is it's made us so that we have so much to offer and so much to teach people that we really just love working with the public and sharing with them how we love to help heal people.
And just hold that thought for a moment. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and we'll be right back in just a moment.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. AAIM FM.
Hi, this is Julie Geigel.
I'm Maggie Chula.
And I'm Catherine Glass.
And we're the Psychic Angel Channelers. Join us every week here on OMTimes Radio for Angel Talk Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time.
The angels have heard your call and are here to help.
Are you ready to receive?
Remember your magnificence with Angel Talk Tuesday.
Host your show on AAIM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on AAIM FM immediately connects you with our extensive, dedicated community. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com. and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Are you ready to shift your energy, consciousness, and limiting beliefs? Join me, Shefali Burns, every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Shifting with Shefali here on OMTimes Radio. Shift the blocks, limitations, and negative energies that have kept you from experiencing a life filled with joy, peace, love, abundance, and happiness. Are you ready to shift with Shefali? Are you ready to shine your brilliance?
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. AAIM FM.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim here on OMTimes Radio, the voice of consciousness. Before we continue with our conversation, we wanted to remind our inspired listeners of our September positive affirmation in memory of Dr. Wayne Dyer. And the positive affirmation is, the act of being inspired by some great purpose allows you to feel the essence of a spiritual being having a human experience rather than the other way around. And that's Dr. Wayne Dyer in memory of him. So every show we do a positive affirmation for that month. And if you can believe it or not, we're already halfway through September. It's the first day of fall. And before we went to break, we were talking about everything of what the journey has been for you guys. I'm curious, out of all the countries that you guys visited, what was one of your favorite countries?
Oh, goodness.
Well, we really enjoyed, so many, but we really enjoyed Papua New Guinea. I think that was really the place where, you get to see there's over 800 languages and different dialects spoken there. And the diversity is really incredible, from people who live, in a more mountainous area to people who live, on the river and on the ocean. So it was, I think the most remote tribes are there in Papua New Guinea.
Interesting. Yeah. So 100 countries, 7 years. What a great soul adventure for the both of you. And I'm always just intrigued when you step out of the United States and you visit other countries. You learn a lot about the world, but you also learn a lot about yourself. And so thank you for sharing that with us and our inspired listeners. So also for our inspired listeners, how can they engage with you? How can they find you out in this big world out there? What's a good website for you? Let's talk about your books and talk about the Micronutrient Miracle and what that is all about.
Well, sure. First of all, our website where you can find everything that we talk about is at caltonnutrition.com. So that's CALTON nutrition.com. And the book, The Micronutrient Miracle, really has so many amazing things for them to do online at our website. We have basically made it so that you can follow the plan as written in the book, but you have a resource on our website that actually puts you through the program as if we're actually guiding you as your personal nutritionist. So you can sign up for free at mymiracleplan.com, and literally every morning we'll appear in your mailbox and your email magically, giving you a little tip or something that we found helps people at this point in their journey. And we do this every single day for 28 days, as well as offer coupons for products like they might need to do the program. And there's all sorts of tips and videos that they can use along the way.
Yeah, that's great. And just having a support system in place as you follow through a plan, I think is so important, because people need that every single day. If they're changing their lifestyle, right, they need support along the way. So that's great. I did see that on your site. I also saw, too, that you guys sell quite a bit of products. You want to talk a little bit about the products that you sell before we get into the plan?
Sure. Well, the plan really is a 3-step approach. So we talk about food, we talk about lifestyle changes, and when we also talk about how to choose smart supplementation. And I think that that's really an important education for people to have. Now, we do have what we call 3 core products that we have brought to, we actually invented our multivitamin. We hold a U.S. patent on that multivitamin, and we did that because we needed to figure out a way that we could get those minerals into Mira's body when we were trying to reverse her osteoporosis in such a way that her body could absorb them. So through that journey, we kind of created what's called anti-competition technology, and that's really our claim to fame on the multivitamin. And it is very unique, as you might imagine. And so we're very proud of that. That product is called Nutrients, and we talk a lot about that in the book. It's a powdered multivitamin that you literally take in the AM and the PM. You pour it into water, stir, and drink it, and it's highly absorbable. We also have a product called Skinny Fat, which is a very interesting product. It's a combination of something called MCT oil, which is medium chain triglycerides, and virgin organic coconut oil. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, but it's a fat that doesn't store as body fat, and it really helps to boost your brain activity. And it's especially good for people who have a low-functioning gallbladder, or perhaps have had their gallbladder taken out, because it's a fat that doesn't require bile acid to be absorbed, which other fats do. And we have one other product too, and that's called InPower, and it's just an organic whey protein powder. And we just think whey protein is an excellent way to get in the essential amino acids that the body needs in order to obtain optimal health.
Well, that's great. I mean, you offer a comprehensive set of services and offerings, and the book and the 28-day plan. I mean, it seems like people who need that support are really going to get it through your program. What do you mean by micronutrients? And I know that there's an analogy that you use in the book, the one about the orchestra. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, let's not scare people with that big word. Let's just make it so simple for everybody. So micronutrients are the second part of food that nobody's talking about. So everybody talks about carbs, fats, and protein. And those are your macronutrients. Macro meaning big because you need them in large amounts every single day. And they give you energy. That's where your calories come from. But micronutrients you need in very, very small or micro quantities. And they're things you already know about. They're your vitamins, like vitamin C, your minerals, calcium, magnesium, things you've heard of, and your amino acids, which are those building blocks in protein, as well as your essential fatty acids like the omega-3 your doctor might have you take. Now, micronutrients all work like orchestra members. They're each like the instruments in an orchestra. When you listen to a concerto, you need all of the different instruments to be there to play their piece in the music right when they're needed so that it can really be performed in such a brilliant way that music can be. It's the same thing in your body. Your body wants to perform these magnificent functions that it has to do, such as hormone balance and your breathing and everything that your body does. And just like the instruments in the orchestra, your micronutrients have to be there to support each other and to do all their individual jobs so that the functions can be performed in the most magnificent way they can.
And what's the best way to get your micronutrients? Is it in a pill, or a vitamin, a supplement, or is it specific foods and a dietary mix of different foods? What's the best way for people to do that?
Well, in the past, and again, when we were with these remote tribes, I think getting your micronutrients through your food is the way certainly nature intended it for us to be. Unfortunately, here in the 21st century, specifically here in America, but even throughout Europe and China and even India now, we have a different type of food. It's not the food of our grandparents and certainly not the food of their grandparents. In fact, we have food now called genetically modified food that was only invented in 1996. I mean, before that, it never even existed on this planet. So it's very difficult now for us to be getting those essential micronutrients through our food the way that our ancestors did. So that's why we've created the 3-step plan. We still want you, and we still believe that food is the best way to get those micronutrients in. And so we guide you and teach you how to find the foods that are the most micronutrient, basically in each category of the grocery store. So if you're in the produce section, we guide you to the most micronutrient dense foods there. If you're maybe purchasing fish or poultry, we show you how to find the most micronutrient dense foods in each area. We also want you to focus on your lifestyle because we're doing a lot of things with our lifestyle today that, again, our grandparents and their grandparents didn't do. We have to think about things like our stress levels, the pollution levels, our toxic load that is just inevitable in our 21st century world. And we want to make you aware of those things that may be depleting you of your micronutrients, not necessarily to change them, but so that you can be aware of how much micronutrient depletion might be taking place in your life. And then, of course, that third and final step, now sadly almost mandatory for most people living in the modern world, is that supplementation. But we're so thankful and lucky to have supplementation because that's where it's going to fill the gap between where your food leaves off and where micronutrient deficiency is met.
It sounds really great that you can get it naturally through the foods, but that we also need a little bit of supplements too to help support us. What do you say to the people out there? I mean, it's costly to eat healthy and it's costly to buy supplements. That seems like it'd be a real challenge for people. I mean, I notice myself when I go to the grocery store these days just how expensive it is to buy good food.
Well, a couple things. One thing in the book is we do have a good, better, best system. So it's good to do one thing. It's better to do another. It's best if you can afford to do it all. But we do let you break it down that way so you can do what you can afford to do. But the great news is that we're getting the prices coming down because there are so many people who are realizing now that the importance of good quality food, and because both the vegans want good quality food and the paleos want good quality food, and the low carb and the low fat, everyone is screaming for better quality food now, and we're demanding it out of the grocery stores. So the great news is now you can go to Costco, you can go to Target, you can go to these big box places, and they now have an abundance of organic foods and grass-fed meat and wild-caught fish right in the freezer sections even. So it's really making it a lot more affordable.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really great point. You know, you say that more than 90% of all Americans are deficient in at least one vitamin or mineral and don't even know it. So how can this be, and what does this lead to?
Well, I think that's a great question. How can this be? Why aren't we hearing about this from our government? I mean, these statistics come from the USDA's own statistical analysis that they perform each and every 4 years. It's called the NANS report, and they put this out for public consumption. Everybody can look at it, and there the numbers are in black and white. I mean, over 93% of Americans are deficient in at least one of their essential micronutrients. Over in Europe, they just didn't beat around the bush. They didn't say 93%. They just said 100% of the population, and they did the same basic study that the USDA did over here, of the people over in Europe were at risk for micronutrient deficiencies. And so it doesn't really, it's not such a big deal until you start to understand what micronutrients do and what micronutrient deficiencies do more specifically. And what modern nutrition and medicine is now talking about and finding out and discovering is that micronutrient deficiencies are at the root of almost every single modern health condition and lifestyle disease that we're suffering from. So once you start putting those two things together, they become much, much more important in our overall lives.
Well, and it's nice to know that that there's a major solution here to a lot of our problems, that it's not unknown, but that rather we know how we can help correct some of these things through those micronutrients. That's great. How would people, what are some of the effects that they might feel over the course of time being deficient in these areas?
Well, I mean, the first thing you're going to feel is probably just very slight things like a little bit sleepy or just not enough energy.
Okay, thank you. Can you hold that thought one moment? We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. AAIM FM.
Do you want to be a better communicator? Do you want to better connect with the important people in your life? Do you want to enrich your relationships? If so, join me, Matthew Cooper, on the Positive Control System Show every Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OMTimes Radio. I'll meet you there.
Being a radio host on AAIM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram at Joy of Business or Twitter at Joy of Business, and share your pictures with hashtags BusinessDoneWhere and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. Today we have celebrity nutritionist Dr. Jayson Calton and his wife Mira Calton. And before we went to break, we were talking all about the percentage of Americans that are deficient in at least one vitamin or mineral. And you said it's actually in the book it's 90%, but it's actually higher than that. And Europe is actually saying 100%, correct? Did I hear that right?
Absolutely. Europe says they actually did their study, and they said 100% of everyone living over there is deficient. And what's amazing is that, first of all, no one's talking about it, but over there, they're actually seeing the original micronutrient deficiency diseases that we had all said were long gone. For example, everybody knows that vitamin C, if deficient, gives you scurvy. And that a long time we haven't seen scurvy. But rickets is actually a vitamin D deficiency that we thought was gone a long time ago. Now, unfortunately, it is back, and is back big time in Northern Europe because everyone is slathering on sunscreen. Nobody is allowing the sun to produce the natural vitamin C in the body, as well as the fact that there's just no vitamin D left in our food. So it's very, very sad that we're starting to see diseases that we had already cured coming back and having to deal with this a second time around.
You know, and one of the things when I was researching the information on having you guys as guests for the show, I love your journey, Mira, about not settling for your outcome of osteoporosis and going out and looking for a way to get healthy and to get better. And I think it's always important for our inspired listeners to know that there are many options out there, and it's always important to explore and discover for your own health and what's right for you, not necessarily what a doctor tells you. But it reminds me, I was actually watching TV the other day, and it was the Dallas Buyers Club, and it was his journey on his diagnosis and how he wouldn't settle for the outcome, and that he went looking for alternative medicine. And for you, these supplements really made a difference in your life to where it actually – so you don't have any more symptoms of the osteoporosis? You're completely cured from that with all the supplements that you've –
Yeah. All better, and it's been 10 years, so I'm not getting worse again anytime soon. The people who go through the Micronutrient Miracle, because we work with them so closely on the website, we know that it really only takes 28 days to cure yourself of a lot of things that people they're being told by their doctors that these are genetic. My high blood pressure is genetic. I'm never going to get off the medication. Or I have diabetes, and I'm going to be on this for the rest of my life. And within 28 days, everybody pretty much who goes through the program gets rid or at least pulls way back on their medications even within the first few weeks. So it's just amazing how miraculous these micronutrients are.
You know, I'd like to ask a question, Mira and Jayson. There was a question that actually came in from one of our inspired listeners. Her name is Mary in New Hampshire as we talk about osteoporosis. She's 59 years old. She works out regularly. She does a lot to keep in shape, and recently fractured her bones. She said she just became aware that I think she's got osteoporosis in her spine, and it's been recommended to her that she take Forteo. It's a Forteo, Forteo, to help. I guess this is a drug or a shot that she would have to give herself daily, and she'd like to know what you recommend and if you could give her feedback on that.
Well, certainly, we can help with that a little bit. You know, I do have to, premise this by stating that I am not an MD. I'm a Ph.D., and so I cannot diagnose or give advice in that way to her. I certainly respect her doctor's advice, and she's going to have to find her own journey, whether or not those medications are going to be right for her. Mm-hmm. What we can speak to is we can talk about the fact that in the Micronutrient Miracle, our 28-day plan, we do have what we call a bone health or an osteoporosis protocol. And we have had dozens of women all across the world now write us after following the protocol and taking the nutrients and following the advice that we offer in the book. And many of these women are in their 50s and in their 60s, ages that, again, modern medicine would say it's impossible for them to grow backbone. But yet there's the DEXA scan, and yet there is the bone density improving by following the protocol that we outline in the book, which is a drug-free protocol, by simply increasing. And it's not just taking more of the minerals that she's going to need, like the calcium and the magnesium and the vitamin D, but really understanding how those micronutrients work in tandem with one another and in synergy, and also understanding which ones may compete. Again, they're kind of like that orchestra or a big family. Some members of a family get along very, very well, and there's other members of the family that no matter how many times you try to put them together, it doesn't turn out so good. So, and it's the same thing with the micronutrients. The best advice I can give her is that, grab a copy of the Micronutrient Miracle. I think it's maybe $16 on Amazon. It will be a good investment for you. Read about how we reverse Mira's osteoporosis, and I would consult with your doctor and see if the two of you can work together to create a plan that will work best for you.
I'd like to add one thing to that. I heard in that email when you shared it with us, the fact that she's working out a lot, and so she should be pretty fit. That's one of the things that we would put up a red flag in all actuality, because working out causes you to sweat, and sweat causes you to lose micronutrients even faster. I was a cardio queen when I got osteoporosis. I loved working out, and I did long, 1-hour classes or two a day, and that can actually cause more micronutrient loss. So in the book, not only do we go over what to eat to build your bones and all that, but how to work out to build your bones as well, because it's not necessarily what not everyone might be thinking, as well as all drugs like the 4DO actually work to reduce micronutrient levels. So that's another thing we want you to be very aware of. As you take a medication, what else is it really doing to your body? There's a reason all those medications have long lists of side effects, because as you deplete yourself of a different micronutrient, there's a good chance that you're going to have a different side effect. So those are just a couple of red flags. Obviously, any medication you have to go into with caution, and as well, just consider how you're working out, and then obviously the bone building protocol that Jayson was mentioning.
Interesting. Yeah, that's Kim. That's why we do this show, because we learn so much from having our special guests on. As far as the title itself, Micronutrient Miracle, some of our listeners out there got to be wondering: are you guys promising miracles at all?
Well, I wish we could do that. No, we're not that powerful. We're just nutritionists. But what we are talking about is what we consider to be the miraculous health benefits that can be achieved and that we've personally seen when you become micronutrient sufficient, when you allow these mighty micronutrients to do their job. And the body is an amazing thing. You could say the body is a miraculous thing. And when it has all of the micronutrients that it needs in place to do what it's supposed to do, then compared to what most of us are living in, which is a micronutrient deficient state where we might be suffering from, all kinds of ailments and even diseases. Once those micronutrients are there in place, at the right time, and allowed to do what it is they're supposed to do, I think for a lot of people, and we have a lot of clients, they describe that feeling as really miraculous.
And I love that analogy that you guys talk about the orchestra and how everything comes together to make beautiful music, right? And that's what we're trying to do here for today's show is bring it all together and make a beautiful body. So, Kim, I think you said that there was another inspired listener that had a question for our special guest today.
Yeah, there was. I just want to comment, too, that some of what you were talking about in your book is not there are natural ways that people can, through the micronutrients, that they can heal themselves. That medication may not be the answer, but that, of course, you're recommending they talk to their physicians about that. But some people are averse to taking things, so it's nice to know that there are natural alternatives as well. We do have a question that's come in from Rhonda in California. She was just diagnosed with ADHD, and she's also had some challenges with her memory and her ability to keep focus, and also mood swings as well as heightened sensitivity to noise. Are these things that are covered in the book? I just saw that listed on your website, that you've worked with people with ADHD. So I thought I'd bring that to air, and Rhonda would appreciate your insight.
Sure. Yeah. And absolutely. ADHD certainly has, and there's a lot of great medical and nutritional research showing a big connection with ADHD and omega-3. So that's that essential fatty acid that we kind of talked about. One of those, the umbrella term micronutrients covers those essential fatty acids. My advice is, try to get an essential fatty acid that's going to contain two different components, EPA and DHA. Now, in order to get EPA and DHA, you're going to have to either be looking at an algae oil, a krill oil, or a fish oil. You're not going to be able to get it in the flaxseed oil. That's kind of a vegetarian or a vegan source. It has omega-3, but it does not have the EPA and the DHA. So for you, I'd really consider to either the algae, the krill, or the fish oil. And all the other things that you were talking about too, early signs of micronutrient deficiency. Remember, there's so many micronutrients. And so if you kind of imagine them all kind of end to end and then kind of one big spectrum, she might be, we don't know how deficient she is in each and every one of them. So she may be deficient in 3 or 4 different micronutrients, and that then in turn causes the side effects of several different feelings, one of which obviously is the ADHD. Other ones might be the kind of the depression or anxiety or whatever else a person might be feeling. But each and every one of these health conditions, there's plenty of research showing how micronutrients and becoming micronutrient sufficient can help to improve these conditions.
One of the things that's very helpful in the book that would help her is that there's a table in here called Conditions and Key Micronutrients Used in the Prevention and Treatment of. And what we ask everyone to do is really take an assessment of their body, their spirit, their health. As they start to go through this book, we list a ton of different possible illnesses or conditions that one might be experiencing. And then we ask you, check all the ones that exist for you. And what that will do for somebody is they'll then be able to see which micronutrients are used in the treatment of that and which micronutrients, when deficient, might be causing that. And what's really interesting is I just went over her list real quick, and there were quite a few of the micronutrients that appeared under multiple things that she was complaining of. So this would allow her to basically look at it and be like, oh, here's 5 of them that these micronutrients are really, really playing havoc with. So we would want her to do something like that. And everyone can do it simply by going through the book. So it proves to somebody which things they're deficient in, and then it tells them on the other end how to become sufficient in them to relieve the very same conditions.
That's great. Thank you so much. So Rhonda, thank you for listening today and hope that helps. You also say in the book that our food supply isn't the only problem, though. That's that some of our everyday habits like drinking coffee or taking medications, even dieting, can rob our bodies of nutrients and cause health problems. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct, because remember that as you lower the calories in your food, as you lower the quantity of food, you're also lowering those few micronutrients that still might be in there. So when you go on a low-calorie diet, or you cut out a meal, let's say, and you say, I'm going to lose a little bit of weight, yes, you're lowering the calories, but oftentimes you're lowering those micronutrients too, and you end up in a micronutrient deficient state.
And we'll be back in 2 minutes.
The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. AAIM FM.
Live with medium Lisa Phoenix, Mediumship Messages and Musings, explores mediumship and all things metaphysical. Lisa Phoenix invites you to reach above and beyond your everyday experiences, to explore new dimensions in the spirit world. She will do live readings to connect callers to their loved ones in spirit, shares engaging stories and teachings from her own personal experience, and will have intriguing conversations with other mediums, spiritual teachers, and healers to help you understand the metaphysical world so you can connect to these forces in your day-to-day life. Join your host on this magical and metaphysical journey into the world of spirit every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
Host your show on AAIM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on AAIM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
If you've ever said, I do want it all. I do want happiness. I do want love. And I do desire the happily ever after fairy tale life, then this show is for you. Join me, Dana Nicole Brandon, for my internationally acclaimed show, Bridal Talk Radio, every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, where I'll bring you the top experts in the fields of communication, money, relationships, finance, pleasure, play, travel, sexuality, parenting, real estate, adventure, comfort, care, passion, and love.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. AAIM FM.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim here on OMTimes Radio, the voice of consciousness. We had a few more questions that we wanted to ask the both of you. As far as I already know that I'm overweight, but how do I know that I'm micronutrient deficient? What are some things that I can look for to know? And is it better to take it in a pill form versus a liquid form? Because I do take vitamins that are in pill form and both liquid form.
Okay, so you've got some great questions there. You definitely want to be taking your multivitamin in a liquid form. And we want to do that because, again, we go back to that medical and scientific research that shows that over 51% of the vitamin pills and capsules that were literally taken right off the shelves and studied did not disintegrate. And so when you've got kind of a 50-50 shot there that your vitamin may be one of those that is or is not. But when you're taking it in a liquid form or a powdered form added to water and then you drink it, then you don't have to worry about the disintegration. It's just one more thing that you can ensure that at least that the vitamins are getting in. So that's our perspective on that. Now, obesity is an interesting topic because over the last 50 years here in America, we have tried just about everything to stop and hopefully reverse obesity, and nothing has helped. We're still, moving straight forward in a direction that we don't want to be going with overweight obesity. And recently, there's been a lot of talk amongst the nutrition community and the medical community that obesity is connected now to the micronutrient deficiency. And here is what they're saying. They're saying that basically, again, food has that two components. It also has two types of hunger that can be produced when you don't get enough food. The first type is the typical hunger that, you typically get when you miss a meal and your stomach starts grumbling and you say to somebody, I'm really hungry, I'm starving. You can feel that hunger in your gut. There's a different type of hunger, too, that the scientific community talks about, and that's called hidden hunger. And that's a type of hunger that is created when you're getting enough calories, but you aren't getting enough micronutrients. And there's an actual physiological effect on the mind and the brain that tells the individual to go eat more food. It prompts them to go eat more food. And oftentimes the individual is sitting there eating more food thinking to themselves, I really don't need any more food. I know I've eaten enough food, but why am I eating, the 3,000, 4,000 calories a day? I'm angry at myself that I keep doing this. In all reality, what we're starting to understand is that this is an individual who's just more physiologically in tune with their bodies, and they're doing what their body's telling them to do, to eat more food, because that's the only way your body knows how to get more of these micronutrients. What I found and what Mira and I have found working with clients now over the last 25 years is that once you create that micronutrient sufficient state, you only have to deal with the first type of hunger, which is really easy to deal with. And most of those cravings, if not all of those cravings, literally go away.
Yeah, you refer to it as hunger crisis. I've also heard the term unconscious eating, especially when we're sitting in front of TV and we just kind of sit and eat and eat and eat and just kind of – I've also heard empty calories or negative calories. Is that in the plan? Is in referencing to like fast food and, what kind of diet should we be on? Should we be more on a vegan diet or a paleo diet? Some of the folks may be asking, what am I supposed to eat to get the right nutrients?
Exactly. So you don't want to eat what you just referred to, naked calories. That was actually the name of our first book for that reason. Foods that don't give you any micronutrients, they just give you a lot of calories. So you want to get rid of that. But a great question when you're trying to say which diet is best, because everybody wants to know. Everybody's always asking us. So the great thing that we can say is we don't really care which one you follow, because each one of those types of diets eliminates specific foods. And like Jason was saying, if you eliminate, say, your paleo, you eliminate the grains and the beans, you're eliminating the micronutrients found in those foods. If you're vegan and you're eliminating the dairy and the meat, you are most likely going to be eliminating the micronutrients found in most commonly in dairy, say calcium and vitamin D. So either way, you're going to be deficient. One thing is we all have one truth. If we supplement across the board, we can all be sufficient, and then we don't have to argue about what type of a diet you have, because that's really a personal decision, and we don't want to get in the way of you and your personal dietary philosophy. That's your own. But what we can say is they've all, in studies, been found to be deficient in different micronutrients. And so sufficiency is only met through supplementation.
And Kim, I know you've been dying to ask this question, especially I'm right there with you, but we're going to talk about coffee real quick. So go ahead, Kim.
Well, yes. I mean, I have to, so many of us, and I'll speak for myself, I enjoy my cup of coffee in the mornings, but I understand that drinking coffee can not be so good for us and rob us of our nutrients. Is that correct?
Well, okay. So you are correct in one way. Your coffee can rob you of your micronutrients, and that's because coffee typically contains caffeine, which can rob the body of vitamins A, B9, D, and calcium. Of course, you can get around that by using a decaffeinated coffee, but it also contains something called tannins, another anti-nutrient that robs the body of other micronutrients as well. So that's the negative side of coffee. The positive side of coffee is it is America's number one source of antioxidants. Coffee is the number one source of antioxidants for Americans. It beats black tea, green tea, all the teas, hands down. So that's a very positive thing. In the book, we try to use balance, and we offer individuals following our protocols 2 cups a day of coffee if they're trying to follow a protocol to become micronutrient sufficient. That's enough that you can still get, the coffee that we all love and need and those positive antioxidants in our bodies, but it also doesn't create such a micronutrient deficiency that it's hard to make it up through our diet, our lifestyle changes, and our supplementation. So we believe, and we love coffee and tea. There's an upside and a downside to all of it.
Now, Jayson, I did hear you say tannins. And I know that there are tannins in wine, so let's add on to that, coffee and wine. How does wine fit into the picture?
Let's cover it all.
You know what? We live in the real world in our book. We do not want you to give up everything for life. And all those people who say they're going to do that, they all end up wanting a glass of wine. And in reality, we did a whole lot of research on alcohol, and we actually found that 2 cups a day is actually the sweet spot. So 2 glasses of red wine is actually the sweet spot, and it actually has been shown to increase your lifespan, increase your bone density, which was a very interesting thing. In the studies, they found that people who drank alcohol actually had stronger bones, and when women in studies were taken off alcohol, their bone density actually decreased until they were put back on wine. So you know what, Mark, keep your wine.
That's so. I love it. There are redeeming qualities. Yes,
a world with no coffee or wine. I was getting nervous. As far as any kind of offers or coming up for your book launch for this.
Well, what we want people to do is, obviously we'd love for you to go out and grab a copy of the Micronutrient Miracle. It's available everywhere books are sold and on Amazon. And we also have a great website where people can go to. It's called My Miracle Plan. And when you go to My Miracle Plan, you can see, short videos of people who've been through our Micronutrient Miracle program. You can listen to their own words and about their own journey. And we've got, people on there, younger people, we've got older people, we've got men, we have women. And I always love for people to do that because you never know what story is going to, connect with you personally. And we have a free membership where you can literally join and you can go into the center. You can do the 28-day program with Mira and I. We have a personalized video program that's in there, and that's absolutely free. There's coupons in there for the high quality foods that we talk about in the book. That's great. There's cooking videos where you can cook along with Mira and I in there. So it's just a great motivation and resource center, and it's available to everyone.
And one more time for our listening audience, how can our audience go out and find you? Website?
Absolutely. So the best place for them to go, it's easiest to remember, they can go to our website at caltonnutrition.com. That's CALTON nutrition.com. Or even easier, like Jayson was saying, My Miracle Plan. And that gives them so many amazing free gifts to play with.
And the books can all be found on the major outlets as well, Amazon and...
Absolutely, yeah. We're in Amazon. We're in all bookstores. We're even in some of the Costco stores.
Oh, when I go to Costco, I will be on the lookout for some of your books. And one more time for our listening audience, just the names of the books, just so they can write that down on their list of books to get.
Yes, it's called The Micronutrient Miracle. And it's a 28-day plan. And like Mira said, you don't have to change what type of dietary philosophy you're following. You just plug in this micronutrient component. And I think you'll be surprised because you've probably been following whatever dietary philosophy you've chosen for a while. But once you create micronutrient sufficiency using that same philosophy, I think you'll notice how much better you feel almost immediately.
Perfect. And what were the other books that you also had?
We have 2 other books. Our first book was Naked Calories. And our second book was Rich Food, Poor Food. And they're also available on Amazon and in all bookstores.
Perfect. Well, we'd ask that our inspired listeners go out and read these books and, again, visit their website. It's been a pleasure. Believe it or not, the show's coming to an end, but it's been a pleasure having you both on. I've learned a lot just listening, and I will definitely check out the book and go to your website. And we'll post your information on the Inspired Living Radio Facebook page and our Twitter page. And it's been a real pleasure having you on Inspired Living today.
Thank you so much, Mark and Kim.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And for next week's show, we're going to have David Foreman. He is known as the Herbal Pharmacist. He's a host of the syndicated radio show, The Herbal Pharmacist. And we're going to be talking about traditional medicines and chronic pain. So looking forward to that show.
Yes, it should be an interesting one, just as it was today. So a lot of conversation about our health, which is always a good thing. Without our health, life is not so great.
Yeah.
So thank you for being with us today. As always, we will see you next week. Lots of love to all of you.
Yeah. Be kind, be caring, be compassionate. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Namaste.
Namaste.